Hello, my name is Gabe, and welcome to my reaction to. This isn't actually something I'm planning on making a regular thing, though I might if I can find enough reasons to do it. I just want to talk about Smash Bros. So to give some context, early last week in fact, we were just given the announcement of the final Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC fighter. And with all the DLC fighters finally behind us, I kind of wanted to give my own thoughts about all these fighters. For no other reason other than it's super on my mind and it ain't gonna get off unless I talk about it. Before we begin, I want to give some of my history with Super Smash Bros. So people can see what perspective I'm coming from. I started playing Smash Bros. All the way back in Super Smash Bros. Melee. As some would consider it the best one, I don't know. Either way, that's not really it. I enjoyed Melee and had two mains that I played as in that game. My first main was Kirby. As a kid, I absolutely adored his copy ability. And when we unlocked Mewtwo, for some reason I switched to him. I just kind of liked playing as him. I wouldn't say I was particularly good when I played Melee. On account of, I was like, really a kid. Like, 6, 7 maybe, young. The point being, I wasn't particularly good at the game. But I loved the game and played it all the time. Shared a copy with my cousin, so we'd go back and forth between our houses. Eventually, still in elementary school, but this time I'm like 12, 13-ish, 11, basically, above the 10 mark. I got Super Smash Bros. Brawl when it came out for the Wii. The Wii came out, anyways. And I played the hell out of it. For years, I would keep coming back to the game and back to the game. I played a lot of it, and even beat Subspace Embassy a few times, though only 100% once. I played it so much that my copy of the game bloody wore out. When I was playing that game, I kind of made it my mission to play a little bit of everybody, so I generally picked random every time and got decent with every character except for Jigglypuff. In Brawl, I could not play Jigglypuff for the life of me. Could not tell you why. Now we get to where things get interesting. So, it's the end of my elementary school career. I'm going off to somewhere else. But before I do, I get into a conversation with a friend of mine. The Wii was about to come out, and with it a new Smash Bros. So, we talk a bit about who we think might get in the game. As often is the case when something like this happens. But I decided to go a step further. I gave him my 3 picks for characters that could never, ever be in a Smash game. My first pick, Mii's. My logic being, they are not really distinct characters on account of being a player-created avatar. You can't put Mii's in Smash Bros. My second pick, the Animal Crossing Villager. The Villager, as well as being kind of a player avatar, though not to the same degree as Mii's, they're just not combat-y. They don't fight, not really anyways. So, I couldn't see them being in the game. And my third pick, and I want to show you, these are the only 3 characters I put on that list. Wii Fit Trainer. Basically the same reasons as Villager. Yeah. As you can imagine, when we started getting announcements for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, boy was I surprised. And I mean, like, really surprised. The 3 characters I was absolutely sure couldn't be in the game, well, there they are in the game. By the way, take note of that. That's going to turn out to have been a pattern. We'll get to that when we get to it. I guess I gotta get through. So I played Wii U semi-regularly. a fair bit. For whatever reason, I never quite got a knack for it. There was something I felt was off about the weight of characters, but I still enjoyed the game for what it was and played it a lot. Especially the custom rule sets you could enable. There was some fairly fun stuff you could do with those that I eventually did. So, the Wii U Smash Bros. Introduced a few DLC characters, and I'll be honest, none of them were characters I was particularly invested in. No, they're good characters, Bayonetta, Cloud, and all them. I just don't have any experience with their games. At least I didn't at the time, and I still don't mostly. I've played a bit of their games since, but not a lot. Point being, the characters didn't really resonate with me, and since they didn't resonate with me, I didn't really feel a drive to get the DLC or be invested in the hype surrounding them. That changed for Ultimate. That changed hard. Alright, it's time to get to the meat of this video. So, the reason I wanted to share this is because my experience with the Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC has been an experience of utter surprise, weird coincidences, and so horribly, amazingly, awesomely wrong every single time. I'll explain as we get to the video. The first DLC we were told we were getting on launch. It was kind of a weird pre-order-y, buy-the-game new thing. Either way, Piranha Plant. And people were kind of underwhelmed by Piranha Plant. Not that I particularly blamed them, it's literally a mook, a Mario scrub. You've probably seen a million of those. Squish them beneath your feet, except for not really, because you can burn them, freeze them, you can't actually step on them. Except for in certain games. Anyways. And, I mean, I wasn't particularly, too concerned about it. I thought, it's a bit of a chuckle. And, honestly, though, when I played Piranha Plant for the first time, they became one of my favorite characters. They are oddly really fun to play, and have one of the more, I'm not going to say best air recoveries, but definitely one of the easier to use ones, and I found really fun. Their up special is really amazing, and their other attacks are pretty good too. But ultimately, Piranha Plant was very quickly blown out of water by the next one, and where this story kind of gets interesting and worth sharing in the first place. I didn't even think to watch this show, so I can't give you my live, blind reaction. It was the Game Awards before Smash Bros. Ultimate even released. We knew the game was getting DLC, we knew there was going to be a hefty amount. We did not know who was going to be starting it. And whoever it was going to set the tone for the DLC going forward, expectations and everything else. And they set that tone hard. Now, what makes this funny for me was I was in the very last dungeon of Persona 5. Not at the moment, but that was where I was in that game, in my first of what would eventually become many playthroughs of that, when the announcement broke out. It was the game I was actively playing through at that moment. So you can imagine, I was like, what? It kind of caught me off guard. But to be honest, I was so invested in Persona 5 that, had it not been Persona 5, had it not been Joker, he would have been my pick. The character I've been wanting to get in every single time. So, I guess that goes to say, from spot 1, the first DLC character was already my pick to go in, so at that point, there was no way I was going to be disappointed, and I decided I was going to get all the DLC characters. Honestly, despite loving Joker, I don't play him that much, unfortunately. I really should. He's fun. Out of all the characters, he's probably the least gimmicky, but he's still gimmicky as all else. They made all the DLC characters super gimmicky. But he's viable, and I've definitely won with him. But I wouldn't say there was anything major. The next fighter to be announced was Hero from Dragon's Quest. I would love to say I had a super strong reaction, but Dragon's Quest isn't a series that I had any particular investment in. I would like to point out, though, that Dragon's Quest did show once again that one of the rules I had established in my head, even though Joker already broke it, I didn't really think about it at the time, was I believed they were not going to have any characters as DLC fighters that were already part of an already represented company. Again, I realized Joker already broke that, but I don't know. Maybe I just didn't know that Atlas was part of Sega at the time, or just I thought that Atlas was enough layers deep that didn't actually break the rule. But Dragon Quest was outright square, so that rule was out the window. Like I said, every time I made a rule, the rule was immediately broken. Hero is okay to play. They're not anything special. Their down special allows you to select a bunch of moves, but honestly, maybe if I had time to learn them, I'd have better appreciation for it. I really don't. Sorry. But it doesn't matter, since if you follow the story at all, you know that the very same presentation, Hero was blown out of the water by the next fighter. A fighter that represents, whether you're a fan of their franchise or not, huge things going forward. Banjo and Kazooie. Now, I'm going to be very real with you. This should have been the final fighter. And I'm not the only one to think that. This fighter is the biggest wow factor. Because Banjo and Kazooie are currently owned by Nintendo's direct competitors. Since had a rubbing of one of their games coming to Switch Online as a classic ROM emulator type thing, which is exciting in of itself, but at the time, the idea of Microsoft and Nintendo working together on this felt a little iffy. Mind you, I was 50-50 on Banjo and Kazooie getting in the game, if I'm being honest. The reason I was 50-50 was I kind of was skeptical, but I remember during the days of the Smash ballot, which we'll get back to in a little bit, Phil Spencer of Xbox said he'd be perfectly happy to let Banjo be in Smash. But I don't know. I wasn't taking it 100% at face value, but money was where mouth was. And Banjo and Kazooie returned to a Nintendo console somehow. My experience with Banjo and Kazooie is not non-existent, but not extensive. I owned Banjo Tooie, yes, Tooie, on N64. Never actually beat it. And yeah, N64 was a little before my time, but I did have one. For a very short period of time. Anyways, next up is Terry. And I would love to give you some thoughts on his series, or what I thought of him before the announcement, and how likely I thought he might be. But unlike every other fighter that was announced, I didn't even know Terry or his series existed before the announcement. From what I understand, that's probably a shame and a sin. I really gotta try their games at some point. And will. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I can't give you any thoughts because the very first time I heard of SNK and King of Fighters and any of that stuff was during that announcement. But somehow, despite having never heard of him before or seen hide of him, he's become my main. I'm probably not as good at him as I would be if I'd actually know his combos by heart from playing the game. but I have a surprising knack for them. I have no idea why. Don't even try and guess. Alright, the next fighter. And this, you may have guessed it, broke another rule. Another rule I had set in stone, chiseled in, thought, nope, this is a rule. They're not going to break it. They were not going to put in any fighters representing franchises already represented. Could be argued Fire Emblem could be an exception, but probably not. It wouldn't be if that was an actual rule, and it isn't. Anyways, Byleth. My stance on Byleth? What a character. Now, I had actually really, very recently beaten one of the routes in Three Houses. I'll give you a clue. It starts with gold and it ends in deer. I have not personally beaten any other route, I'll be honest, but I adored what I played. And trust me, gold and deer was the best route for me. Anyways. So clearly I was, unlike every other Fire Emblem character, which I have no experience with, 100% invested in Byleth, though I was pretty excited that they got in. So yeah, and well, I actually play them quite a bit. Their moves can hit pretty hard, they got decent range sometimes, and they're just kind of fun to play. A unique spin on the Fire Emblem character, of which Smash has, let's be real, a lot. Though I will state, Byleth should not have been the final announcement. Should have been Banjo and Kazooie, because that would have been the most hype. Byleth was a little disappointing. Thankfully, Sakurai saved us a little by announcing a sequel to the DLC. We're getting more Smash DLC. And so, the hype and the speculation began anew. Who was going to get in this time? Who? And as you can guess, more rules were about to be broken. Alright, so. Min. I'm sorry. I'm mutual on Min. I'm sorry. Out of all franchises represented in Smash Brothers, ARMS is the one I care the least about. As in, I've never cared an ounce for it. I'm sure people like the game. I don't. I just don't care. So I'm neutral on the announcement of Min. Kind of disappointed, actually, just a little bit. The only character I'm going to say outright disappointed me. It doesn't help that Min is also my worst character in Smash. Period. I cannot play her for the life of me. So naturally, I don't have a lot of enthusiasm for her. Sorry. Another rule I had set in stone, firmly and coherently. They wouldn't break it. Any company represented by the DLC wouldn't be represented by the DLC again outside of first-party stuff. Minecraft Steve. Like I said, any rule I established got immediately broken. Well, I had stuck fairly coherently to believing that rule to be a consistent thing, even though it absolutely wasn't. I was already 99.9% sure Steve was going to go and be in the game. I was certain Steve was getting in over Banjo. Minecraft is kind of like the most popular game right now. Maybe Fortnite's taken the spot. I think it and Fortnite may have been switching places a bit, but either way, Minecraft's big. There was no way it wasn't getting repped as at least a Mii Fighter costume. But again, there they were. Fairly fun to play around with, not as fun to fight with, though I'm sure there are people who are really good with Steve. Alright, the big one for people who aren't me. Sephiroth. Like I said, I didn't earlier in this video, Final Fantasy VII is not a game I particularly have nostalgia or investment in. I like some stuff I've seen, but I've not played the games for myself. And I do say games, plural, for myself. That being said, I have seen Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts. Anyways, Sephiroth was a fairly big fighter. I'm happy to say, and people were pretty ecstatic about it. Not to mention the whole boss thing, which kind of wish you had to do the hard mode. Anyways, I do love playing as Sephiroth, I'm gonna be honest. His reach is awesome. Some of his attacks are finicky to use, but really fun if you manage to pull them off. The one-winged angel has my stamp of approval. Pyra/Mithra. Before I give my opinions on the fighter as a whole, I'm just gonna be real. I don't like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I don't, and I am so sorry I don't. I have nothing against people who do, obviously. If you like something I don't, more power to you. I just, for reasons that are difficult to explain in this video and way worth talking about at its own place, I can't find enjoyment in that game. That being said, I'm happy Mithra and Pyra got in. Little turn there. I'll be honest, the reasons I don't like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have nothing to do with the characters of themselves. How they are implemented and their role in the game, that I have a problem with. But the character design and the character personalities are honestly some of my favorite things about the game, despite my own disdain for it. So it being repped is kind of cool. Despite that, I've never really touched them, sorry to say. I've played them a bit, but I can't really give you a good feel of how I feel about them, because I just haven't played them much. Kazuya. I have no experience with Tekken, sorry. I've heard of it at least, unlike SNK. But never played any of the games. That being said, I've been, through pop culture osmosis and just having it be mentioned to me, I did know roughly who Kazuya was and about his penchant for throwing people into volcanoes. Particularly children. Anyways. I think Kazuya's okay, though I've once again barely touched him. It's time to get to the end of this little game, eh? And in order to do that, I'm going to talk to you about the character I was, throughout everything, 100% certain would not be included. Not because I disliked the character, just because I thought that they were a few too many rings to get through. Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I was confident Sora couldn't get in. For a few reasons. Number one, Square Enix is kind of overly represented in the DLC packs. Not a bad thing, I just felt, would they really give it to Square Enix that many times? And number two, and more importantly, negotiating with Disney can be a headache. Let's be real. Note, recently, as in like a few weeks ago, Disney did make a statement saying they wanted to work with more varied video game companies. But I had assumed that was a recent business choice, and we were told all the fighters were locked in forever ago. Either way, Sora, my most unexpected character, the character I was convinced couldn't get in, got in. I'm fairly happy. I'm a casual Kingdom Hearts fan, I'll admit, but I do like the games I've played, and intend to play more of them at some point in the near future. I'm good with Sora. And there it is, my mindset during all the Smash announcements. And with that, I guess I have to leave things here. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, leave a like. If you want to see more like it, do subscribe. But, speaking of Smash Bros., I've decided to do something kind of fun, or unique, interesting, maybe, on my Twitch channel, which the link of is in the description. I have decided I was going to play through one game representing every playable fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Anyways, I have some interesting things planned for some of the games, but either way, if you want to see me play through some games representing some of your favorite characters, check it out. I'm playing through the original Donkey Kong Country right now. But, more important than any of that, Have a good night.